Hey there, and welcome to the Power of You Telesummit. Once again, we have a beautiful group of women who are going to really inspire you and encourage you. I know you're going to love their stories. You're going to be just set on fire by what they have to say and really help you step into the game, help you step up to the next level. Because these women have a lot to say to you, so let's just get started right away. Let's start with the first one and let her introduce herself, tell her what she does, and give you all a few words of encouragement. Erica, you're first on my screen, so you get to go first. Yay.
Oh, wow. Well, hey, guys, I am Erica Coleman. I'm a coach, speaker, author, and minister. I'm the founder of a project called From Vision Board and Beyond. So in that project, I work to empower women to take their lives further than a pretty picture on a board. A lot of times we make vision boards and we don't really realize the power of visualization and how it can really set you on fire to reach your goals. And so after many years of success using my vision board and talking to other women, I thought, you know what, we need to take this further than that. So I work with women in setting goals, remaining accountable, and really stepping into their own shine. My motto for 2018 is wake, pray, and shine.
That is a great motto. I love that. And Leanne,
well, look for some shirts coming out soon.
I'm waiting, girl. Let me know, because you know I will support. Leanne, tell us what you do and what inspires you.
Yes, I'm Leanne Fuller. I'm the owner of Fuller Life, LLC, and I am a women's empowerment coach. I am a speaker and a #1 international best-selling author, and I empower women to basically get out of their own way and find their greatness, because I know what it's like to be down, and I know what it's like to be kind of rolling around on rock bottom and not knowing what to do, where to go. And I feel that no woman should have to feel that way. So I empower them to get out of their own way and find their own greatness so they don't have to feel that way any longer. I know what it's like to be on rock bottom, and I like to help women launch themselves from rock bottom.
That is so powerful, because I think of the women who are on this panel, we've probably all been there. And so, and you know, rock bottom
Yes.
is a firm place to start building up, because there ain't nowhere to go. You can either go sideways or straight back.
Yes.
There's no further down. And so I think that
Yes.
it's a great place to start from. But I think one of the powerful things that you said is to get out of her own way. I remember when I was a kid,
Yes.
you know, bullying's been around forever. I won't tell you all my age, but I am proud that I'm in my 40s. But when I was younger, we were not from the right side of the tracks. My mother was divorced several times over, and it was just frowned upon in our small town. You know, we got looks, sideways looks. They would always look when you would walk into the store, where my sister and I are going to steal something. You know, it was just not good. And so I remember my grandpa told me that it never mattered what they called me. Whatever label they put on me, whatever name they put on me, that didn't matter. It was the ones that I was willing to answer to that mattered. And for me, that was the most powerful thing. I remember, because I was 13 and I was very upset about, I can't remember, as a school dance or something, but I was very upset about the fact that we didn't have the money for, you know, I could go, but I'd be going in my blue jeans and my tennis shoes that probably were hand-me-downs at the time too. And so my grandpa said, it doesn't matter. Whatever the world has for you, it doesn't matter. It's what you're willing to answer to, what you're willing to step into and work for. And for me, that stuck with me 30 some odd years later, because I answered to a lot of names in my life that weren't mine, to a lot of labels that weren't mine for a long time.
You're so right. You're so right. And we all get caught up in this stigma of poverty and everything that's happened to us in the past, and we need to realize that doesn't define who we are. We make the decision every day to define who we are and move past that. We are meant to struggle in life. We're meant to learn and grow from our struggles, but suffering is a choice. We make the choice whether we're going to learn from our struggles or whether we're going to move on and keep going, learn and grow, or we're going to just be stuck in suffering exactly where we are. Those moments and those things that have affected us in the past, they don't define us. And that's what I love to empower women to get over, letting that define us. so they can move on and just be their better selves.
I think that's so true. I know when I first started speaking, this is why I say the power of you and the power of our words, because when I first started speaking, here's how I would introduce myself. I'm Teresa Hawley-Howard, domestic violence survivor. Well, yes, I'm very proud of that tagline that I survived, but it's not who I am. And God showed me very quickly that it was not where I was supposed to be, because that's a niche. That's a stuck spot. That's somewhere where you're cornered in. And that wasn't who I was. It was just a part of my story. I had a whole bunch more. That was just part of it. So I think it's very true that we empower women to realize that who you are today is not very likely. You know, I remember when I got married at 17 and I was living with him at 16. I remember my grandmother said, the girl you are today will not be the woman you'll be at 30. And I did not understand those words. I said, look.
So much truth.
I will love him to the grave. You don't understand, Granny. You know, that's not true. But I didn't understand the power of those words till I lived it. Because that little girl that dropped out of high school, she wasn't that college graduate at 30. She wasn't that woman that was working 3 jobs because he wouldn't work. You know, and so as I walked my own path, I realized that those words were very profound. That no, that girl I was at 16, that little starstruck, you know, everything's okay, we can live on ramen noodles, girl. That wasn't who I was at 30, you know, because I was like, we can live on.
Exactly.
Y'all know I couldn't cook. Y'all know I couldn't cook.
Amazing.
Y'all know I couldn't cook. Ramen noodles was
just
the gambit.
How we change and how we evolve into some, you know, when I look at my life now, never ever did I think. You know, never ever. 2-time published author, best-selling. They told me I didn't know how to write. They told me I was the run-on queen. You know,
listen to me.
Who would have ever thought? Huh?
I said, they was always telling me to sit down and be quiet.
All my life. You talk too much. Be quiet. You're too loud. You're too this. And everything that I'm too, God is using it for his glory. He's using it to inspire someone else. He's using it. And that's the thing, you know, about women getting out of their way, like Leanne said, stepping into their shine. Because we're all here with an incredible story, and somebody's watching and somebody needs to hear it.
Yes. Teresa, tell us what you do and what inspires you.
Well, I kind of, I guess, in a way, grew up a lot like you did, as far as, you know, with struggling, barely making it. My mom, she had put herself through beauty college. My dad was always there, but he was a truck driver and gone. And so she, I guess she married my dad when she was 15 and had me at 16, dropped out of school back then. So she went back and got her GED. She went to beauty school, and I actually can remember sitting there helping her learn, you know, reviewing for it. And so she always, you know, I guess kind of gave me the, as far as that as, you know, I can do what I set my mind to do, and I can achieve what I want, and it not being necessarily locked in at where you start out in life. And her mom, my Meemaw, she was probably one of the most loving women I ever knew. She was the type that her door was always open for anybody and everybody, and she'd always give a helping hand. I always kind of wanted to be a lot like her. And so in a lot of ways, I am. I suppose I'm strong and independent, and I put myself through beauty college and become a licensed hairdresser. And with that in itself, you're kind of a therapist.
Yeah, I done accidentally muted myself. We tell our beauty operators things we don't tell our sisters. I mean, we tell them, especially if you like me and you've been gray since 30. So, you know, because it's my but if I didn't put color on my hair is solid white. So, you know, just wear color. Yeah.
Well, with me, it was more like, because growing up, I grew up in we struggled to make ends meet and to have food on the table and stuff. And my dad, like I said, was always gone. And my mom was bipolar. So before you knew what bipolar was, so we just never knew what kind of a gamble we were going to wake up to in the mornings. So I'd kind of been programmed that, as you said, kids were to be seen and not heard. And, I never measured up. Then when I guess I put myself through beauty school, and I actually graduated with a 100 grade point average, was the first time I realized I'm not stupid, and that, I might, be able to do something more with my life. And I've always, I've got a good friend that our parents were pregnant with us at the same time. That's how long we've been friends. And I asked her the other day, I said, do you remember, Luann, us at Paw Paw's gas station? We sitting there on that old-timey typewriter that was the push one that you had to push real hard, those old black ones. Mm-hmm. And I said, starting my story. I said, writing. I said, can you believe that? She goes, I was just thinking of that. I said, who would have thought that from being 8 years old to 56 years old that I would actually become an author and write my story. And so mine, I guess I've always had a lot of compassion for people and can relate to them and feel their pain. And I've always been a type of person that, you go in somewhere and I never meet a stranger. And, I have strangers come up to me and tell me their problems and life stories. And it's just kind of always been that way that I've lived through a lot besides the physical abuse growing up and the mental abuse. I was sexually abused from the time I was 2 till I was 12. And then I met my husband when I was 15 and a half. Fell head over heels in love with him. And we got married when I turned 17 in April. We got married in May. And we were married for 18 years until he was killed in an auto accident 21 years ago. And it's like, me personally, I have tried numerous times to end my life and commit suicide. And I've got I think, is it 5 or 6 stories that's coming out from different things
5
that I have lived through my life. And the last one was when I did commit suicide. And God had other plans for me. They said I flatlined 5 times, and they were able to bring me back. And God told me that, you've got things to do. You've got a story to tell and women to help. And you're not going anywhere. So I'm trying to feel what I think God's put me here to do.
I think that's so powerful because, and y'all know she be modest because she's an international best-selling author. But she does be modest up there in Oklahoma. But she's an international bestseller. But, and that's one of the things I think. Sometimes our story, we think our stories aren't important. We think our stories aren't worthy. We think nobody wants to hear them. But I promise you, there's somebody who's been in your shoes. There's somebody, and she thinks she all alone, just like you thought you were all alone at that moment. When I left my ex, after 23 years of abuse, I thought I was the only one ever stayed that long. I thought to myself, nobody's ever been this stupid. Nobody's ever made this mistake this long. Because I didn't put myself through school. I worked 3 jobs. He never worked. I supported us. And yet I let him still live there, And we all have those skeletons in our closets, those things that, the reasons we did what we did, because we're just doing the best we can at the time. We have no plan. We have no guidance. And we have, our children did not come with a handbook. We're doing the best we can at the time. We try not to be our mamas, and we try not to repeat what they did. And sometimes we go off the other scale because of that. My mother was, they didn't call it promiscuous back then. They had other names for it. But my mother, I had a lot of uncles. And so and they never came to family reunion. They just showed up for after the bar breakfasts.
Uh-huh.
And so my deal was once I got married, I was going to be married I always would say, until I was a widow. I remember I used to joke about it when I was younger, and I would say, God will strike you down before I divorce you, because I'm going to stay married, because staying married never happened in my family. My aunts and uncles, they racked up marriages between them. They had like 5, 6. I mean, you can only be married 7 times in state Texas. I had one uncle who's going to have to go out of state for his next one. I mean, it's just the way it was. It was the norm for me. I had no idea people stayed married. I had no idea what it was like for a man and a woman to live together in the house and what it was supposed to look like, because I had never seen that. Nobody ever stayed. And anytime my mom had a new one, we stayed with my grandparents. And my grandparents were great, but they had separate lives. My grandma did her thing, and my grandpa did his thing. And even my grandparents were not first marriages. They had been married several times. And that's unheard of in the 40s, in the 30s. They had marriages. And so for me that was, I'm going to break this legacy of divorce. I'm going to stay married. And so I stayed married regardless of how unfaithful he was, regardless of how abusive he was. I just stayed, because that was my cross to bear. That was my martyr. And we all have that. We all have that reason that we stayed. I can tell you, I stayed for my children. Well, I didn't want them to have the life I had with my mother with all these strange people, but I didn't give them any better life, because I listened to my children talk now at 26 and 28, and they knew that man was putting his hands on me. They knew who he was. He's not nice to them. He never wanted children. He was not nice growing up, and he's not nice now. And so I didn't save them any heartache, because just having a man in the home is not a father. It's different.
Yeah.
And all those years I thought I was fatherless. It took me a long time to step up and realize I was a child of God. I didn't, my father was a heroin addict. And at the end of his life, before he passed away, I got a chance to ask him why he left. And his answer to me was more profound than anything, because he said, I knew I was going to do more damage to you staying than I was going to do walking out that door. So I left you and your sister, and I left y'all alone. Because I knew because what would have happened, we'd have been in some drug house every other weekend, or with one of his, he had a lot of girlfriends, one of his druggy girls, and I'm telling he'd been in and out of the pen. There's no telling what our life would have looked like if he'd have drug us along for his crusades. And so for me, that was profound, because honestly, if I had heard that at younger age, because I kind of put him on a pedestal and said, oh, my mom just can't hard to live with. I know she's hard to live with. She's hard for me to live with. That's why you can't live with her. I didn't realize what he was. But if I'd known that as a child, if I'd known that earlier, I probably would have picked a better husband. Because I might have picked somebody who did the complete opposite instead of someone who had the same demons as my father. Because even though my father wasn't in the home, I married someone just like him. Someone who drank, someone who was a drug addict, someone who didn't work, someone who didn't think bills were a priority. He could live without lights. He really didn't need them. He put a candle up. Water was optional. My ex didn't think you needed them every month. You probably just need the lights in the wintertime because you might need heat, but he could put you a wood burning stove in there, and then you could cook and all on that. It was like we was living in the 1800s. It's like, no, this is not it. So I worked 3 jobs so my girls would see different. But the thing is that our children and the girls, not only our kids, but other people's children, they see things that we don't think they see. They see all the cracks and crevices. They see all of the problems. And we think we're hiding them. We got our little, you see that commercial with the little fake smile faces. We got them on, and we're all like, oh, everything's okay. I ran into the cabinet again. Y'all know how clumsy I am. We think that we're hiding something. We think that we're hiding the fact that we can't pay the lights next month. They know. They know we on rock bottom. And if we're honest with them, they learn from our mistakes instead of repeating them. Because if my mom had been honest, said, your father is a drug addict, that's why he don't live with us. My mother said, well, for the first 9 years, my mom said, he's in the Army. Well, he was in the Army for a while there, but then he had been discharged. And she just pretended like he was still on service somewhere, like we thought he was a hero. We was like, oh, my dad in the Army. They were like, the war is over. Where is your father? Everybody else is at home. You know, you're out there doing something. You know,
Yeah.
and then she claimed that he was traveling all the time. Oh, your father is traveling. He'll stop by. You know, and we get a random phone call every once in a while because they were divorced. She'd be like, oh, he traveled for his business. You know, and then the biggest lie, y'all gonna love this one. The biggest lie was when she told us he was in pharmaceuticals. So I'm picturing that my father is like one of those traveling salesmen, you know, like for one of the reputable companies. No, my father was a drug dealer. You know, FBI's most wanted number 3. That's when she had to get honest, because when you make the paper in a small town, everybody know. One person at your church found out in a small town, and it's like a wildfire. They didn't even have cell phones back then, so she calling you on your landline. You know, everybody knew. And so she had to be honest then. She had to tell the truth. But I think that's one of the things that we have to learn as women is that we have to own our truths. We got to own our oopses.
Yeah.
We got to own our mistakes. And we got to own, you know, what we did to get where we are. And then we got to make some changes and some choices to move up from rock bottom. Because we don't want to stay there. Nobody wants to be there. So, Janice,
That's
are you
true.
on?
Hi, I'm on.
How are you?
Hi, everyone.
One of my favorite people in the world. I'm doing great. Janice, how are you? Tell us what
I'm doing
inspires
great,
you.
Teresa.
Tell us what inspires
me. What inspires me is the ability and the power of our voices to transcend not only generations but countries, people around the world that, you know, hear the beauty and power of our words. I am a wellness transformation health coach. I am also a survivor of a very violent sexual assault. And before the hashtag Me Too movement, I was moved really to, I've always said that there's a story behind the story. And I was always very moved to somehow or another, you know, get the word out there that, you know, it's okay. You know, I'm okay now. I've been through hell and through back. And through those experiences, I've been able to reach out to so many people. And to me, that is the beauty and the power of this type of telesummit. I'm also an author. Thank you, Teresa, Hawley-Howard. I think it's such a blessing that we've met. And I always say, I don't recall exactly where we met, but we were meant to meet. We were meant to tell a story. And my story, like many others, is very raw and it's very real. And it's something that I live with each day. And my inspiration, honestly, is to keep inspiring those around me, because I know that I know that there's somebody out there who has yet to, you know, hear the power of a moving story to hopefully take action within their own lives. And God has a plan for me. I know that. And, you know, maybe I just have more of an appreciation of it now. Like, I feel that, you know, I'm in my mid-50s now. I'm the double nickels. And I always think that, I always believed that there was so much power in the number of women. And it struck me as I was writing, writing my chapter for another story that I'm working on, that, you know, the bravery of these women to come forward. And so I am inspired to keep learning and to keep sharing, to share this story. However, if somebody's out there to listen, I'm here to teach, I'm here to guide, and hopefully be that person's support, that, you know, that outreaching of, you know, somebody that needs to hear the good word, that there is life after a sexual assault, that there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about what happened and there is life. There is life to live. There is life to enjoy. And really that's, I hope to continue to do that way past, way well into my 70s and 80s and beyond. So I feel very blessed and honored to be here with all of you. And Teresa, you inspire me each day to put myself out there. I guess you could say in a way I'm very shy by nature, but I think if you've looked at a lot of the things that I've written, and hopefully I've been able to do the same and inspire as well. So thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome. Leanne, tell us how our listeners can get a hold of you, how they can reach out to you.
Yes, they can reach me through my website, lovingyourfullerlife.com, LLC. You can also reach me on Facebook at Fuller Life LLC there. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn. I think Fuller Life LLC, and I think on Twitter it's just my name, Leanne Fuller. So they can reach me there. On my website, I do have like a free opt-in that just gives you 10 daily tips for living a happier, fuller life. And I work with them one-on-one. I'd invite anybody to do a free discovery call with me just to see what it is that they're looking for, what's standing in their way, and we can go from there.
Sounds great. Teresa, tell us how they can get a hold of you if they want a copy of your book or if they want you to come speak at one of their events.
Okay, you can find me on my Facebook, either under Teresa Lynn Macbeth Courtney, or Cowgirl Tees Inspiration is my author's page. My email is capital TLGWARTNEY@gmail.com. And so you can get me at either on my Facebook page or my email.
Okay, sounds great. Janice, tell us how they can get a hold of you.
Yes, I am on Facebook as well as Twitter, Instagram, and I'm also available via email, Janice, JANIS .Melillo, MELILLO @gmail.com.
Thank you. And I was going to have you spell that last name because I have the worst time with it. I always mix up the L's every time.
It's so funny because my last name is Melillo, which is spelled MELILLO, and I live on Melillo Circle.
I know.
So unfortunately, I don't get a lot of my mail because everybody that lives on Melillo Circle is a Melillo.
Yep. Erica, tell us how they can reach you, how they can get a hold of you.
Oh, awesome. You can find me everywhere on I Am Erica Coleman. So it's spelled out I-A-M Erica Coleman. That's my website, my Instagram, my Periscope, my Facebook, and my Twitter.
No, that's the best branding. When everything matches.
Yeah. And even my email address is IamEricaColeman@gmail.com.
That is the best branding. When everything is the same, it is just, that's it. I mean, it makes the most sense. It's the easiest branding, and people, they may not remember which one you gave them, but they'll remember that it is I Am Erica Coleman, and they can find you anywhere because they'll just start Googling you. So thank y'all each for being on here.
It's funny. The other young ladies in Oklahoma, I'm in Oklahoma as well.
Yes, y'all need to connect.
You are.
Yes, and I'm in Enid once a week.
Yeah, y'all need to connect.
What now?
I come to Enid, Oklahoma once a week.
Oh, okay. I live just outside of Edmond, east of Edmond.
You're really close. We need to meet for coffee or something.
Yeah, y'all need to get together.
That would be great.
Awesome.
ladies, thank y'all so much for coming on and being a part of the Telesummit. If you haven't already sent me your 200 words of inspiration, please do. You can email it or drop it in my messenger because I'm preparing the magazine article this week. So I hope that everybody will get theirs in because I hate to have to be the school teacher and message you that your assignment is tardy.
I believe I believe I've got mine in, right?
Yes, I have yours. So y'all have a blessed night, and thank y'all so much for being a part of it. And I'll shoot y'all the links as soon as it's up. Y'all tell everybody bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.